Do 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 do. I'm a lost boy from Neverland, usually hanging out with Peter Pan. And when we're gone, we play in the woods. It's on the run from Captain Hook. Run, run, lost, they say to me, away from all of reality. Neverland is home to lost boys like me, and lost boys like me are free. They sprinkled me in pixie dust and told me to believe in him and believe in me. Together we will fly away in the land of green to your beautiful destiny and restore against a town that never loved me. I realized I finally had a family. Soon enough we reach Neverland. Are you back?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you
Peacefully
want
marching.
do you want the rest of your time?
Yeah. It's fine. I'll take the rest of my time.
Okay,
So
so you had 2 minutes left, just to let you know.
2 minutes left. Okay, that's fine. So you'd say, give me a second, let me unpause my OBS again, but you'd say that the specific reason as he was giving us a drag show, okay. You'd say the specific reason as to why the Holocaust and beating people was imposing was because
Well, because you're implicitly teaching your child that's okay. Like if you're,
yeah.
torturing other people, you see your parents do it, they're gonna think that's okay behavior because they're watching their parents do it. So implicitly, you're teaching your child that this is the okay thing to do.
So would you say that rape is an imposition then? Because you're not really teaching them what is right and what is wrong. You're just doing what you want with the person.
What? Wait, rape? I don't
Yes.
understand how that would be in position. Where are you? I don't know.
Yeah,
What are you
wait.
saying?
So do you not think rape would be imposition, or you wouldn't be imposing anything by raping somebody?
Well, that's not what I'm talking about. Imposition in this context. Imposition is talking about imposing your beliefs onto other people, not
No, I
actions like
asked you.
these.
I didn't ask you about imposing of beliefs. I asked you just about the word imposing.
That's what I'm referring to here. I'm talking about imposing your beliefs on other people. I'm not talking about in other contexts. That's frankly irrelevant to the discussion.
Okay, so in this context, imposing your beliefs just means that, like, quote unquote, you are teaching them what is right and what is wrong,
Yeah,
right?
teaching or suggesting what's right and wrong. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Uh, I can what's it called? I can conclude my time from there. I think I've heard everything I need.
Okay.
Okay. Julian, you have 5 minutes to ask your questions. Go ahead.
Okay. So, Sinra, I'm going to address things you said in your opening statement. You said that forcing your religious beliefs is equivalent to grooming. Can you elaborate on why you think this? Are you gonna unmute? Oh my God.
You there? What's going on?
Are you gonna fucking unmute or not? This is so fucking ridiculous.
Okay,
If I
I'll
lose you
pause your
live for
time,
this,
Julian,
this
because
is
like you didn't even get to
this
ask
is actually
anything.
ridiculous.
You there, Shinra? Did you read? Oh my God! Look at Jim's thing in the chat. He said his parents are imposing their presence on this debate.
This is why the minimum age for this debate tournament should have been.
Wait, how old is he?
He's under 18.
Oh, I mean, so is Dingo.
Yeah, we shouldn't have let him in either. So, case in point. This is actually ridiculous. What?
Hello,
Okay.
I've been speaking for like 5 minutes. My mic has been off.
Bro,
Oh my.
Oh my goodness.
you're
This is just the
joking.
evidence that this guy should not be telling you what the correct positions are. Now,
Anyway,
Okay,
my
let's
bad.
hold on. We're gonna okay.
I had to
Reel it
run
back in.
downstairs because my dad asked for medicine.
Take a
But
deep breath.
what?
Everyone, take a deep breath. Okay,
okay.
remain calm. Since we didn't hear shit from Shinra because he was muted, we're gonna start over with
Okay.
Yeah,
Cross.
so Julian, what did you ask me?
So I
Wait,
asked you. You said
wait,
okay.
wait.
Sorry.
Okay. We're starting over with Cross. Julian's gonna have 5 minutes to ask Shinra his questions, okay? Now you may begin.
So you said forcing your religious beliefs is equivalent to grooming behavior. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, the reason as to why it would be like akin to your grooming behavior would specifically be because you are basically just influencing your child's future outlook on life by ingraining that to them these beliefs from a very, very young age.
Right. So when you're ingraining beliefs such that you should not steal, you should not cheat, you should not lie, you're exhibiting grooming behaviors because you're raising their children with those beliefs.
No, because I think these would be like beliefs are stuff that we can access intuitionally rather than actually having to be raised with them. In the same way we
Right,
have
right.
certain
But you
intuitions
said raising your children with certain beliefs is grooming behavior. So also raising your children with beliefs, whether or not they're correct or not, would still be grooming behavior.
No, not specifically because in one context you're raising them right in a belief which they wouldn't regularly have on their own, right? And instead, like, or they wouldn't be raised in this specific environment on their own, and they wouldn't be born like in a Christian household, for example. However, compared to the other example where you tell them raping is wrong, this is something that they could access intuitionally without anyone actually having to tell
So
them this.
what's your argument that child could access intuitionally that raping is wrong?
Because this is something that if we've developed evolutionarily or however you think that our moral intuitions come about, yeah, I don't think
But
it's
but
something
uh,
that we
but
have
it's
to fight
like a
with.
12-year-old child doesn't know anything about rape. It doesn't know that raping's wrong.
Do you not think that if a 12-year-old child were exposed to rape or saw the entailments of rape, they wouldn't be able to just
I don't
decide
think
that
a child
it's
can
wrong?
fully understand. I don't think a young child, 8 to 12, can fully understand rape.
You would okay. I don't think that's actually true. I think we're just able to
You
access this.
think
Like,
that a
like
12, you think
when
an
I was
8-year-old
look, look,
child, if you
look, look,
show them someone
look,
getting
look,
raped,
look,
they'd
look,
understand what's happening?
I was eight closer than what you were. So again, look, when I was 8, I knew rape was wrong. So I don't know, maybe about you, maybe when you
When
were
you were
8, you
8, you knew
saw,
that rape
yeah,
was
yeah,
wrong. When
yes,
you were 8,
yes,
you
yes, yes,
understood rape and you knew that rape was wrong.
yes, yes. So maybe
Okay, I
when
think
you
you're
were 8,
lying to me.
right?
I don't think when you were 8 years old, you understood that rape was
When
wrong.
you were 8,
Okay, I'll
maybe you
go
were
into
an
the
evil
next question
child,
because
right?
this is getting
Maybe you were an
nowhere.
evil child who believed
So,
that rape was right or didn't have
okay,
any
I'm
idea
I'm
about
gonna
it.
go on to the
Yeah,
next.
that does seem very
I'm gonna go to
odd.
the next point because there's no use talking here. So, for example, you said that you're raising your child such that you're controlling their future actions. Now, to ease your concerns about this, I think most of the beliefs that religious people believe, Christians, for example, are common sense moral beliefs that aren't harmful. And when
Okay.
children become, can I finish? When children become old enough to question beliefs such as, being gay is immoral, I think that religious parents should allow their children to question these beliefs and come to their own conclusions. That is what the authoritative um, parenting style is. It's teaching your child what you think is the correct beliefs, and when they become old enough to question these beliefs, you allow them to the freedom to come to their own
This
conclusions.
doesn't seem to be okay. One, this doesn't seem to actually be consistent with how, like, what's it called, with how it actually goes on in real life. So even if I tell my child, oh yeah, this is wrong, this is right, but you can form your own opinion in future, right? Again, it just seems to be more probable that they'll actually stick with these beliefs. I don't think there's any.
No, I think a lot of people
Like,
born
can
in
I finish
religious.
can I
I
finish
think a
my
lot of
sentence?
people born in
Can I
religious
finish my
households.
sentence? Can I finish my
I think
sentence?
this
So
is blatantly
again, there
false.
seems to be
Okay, it's
look,
my
okay, you
cross
can seem
section
to read
time,
the
not yours. Stop talking.
form.
It's my
Okay,
cross
so
section time, not yours.
yeah, never mind. So I guess I'm just not going to be able to get a sentence out. You can go ahead, ramble for me.
Okay,
Go.
I'm gonna stop the time. We need to stop interrupting each other.
I
This is
was in
the
the middle.
time for like
Yeah.
both of you were interrupting both of you. I'm not blaming anyone. So this is the time for Julian to ask Shinra his questions. Just keep it short. Keep questions.
Yeah.
Please stay respectful. There's a
So
minute
what was?
and 40. Hold on.
Mhm.
There's a minute and 40 seconds left of cross. I'm going to start the time again. Just try not to interrupt each other because I can't
Yeah. So
understand what you guys
Julian,
are.
what did you ask me before you cut me off?
Right. So I want to make it clear that it's very clear that children raised in very religious households become widely accepting of the
I have a
LGBT community. You
question.
can talk to many Christians who are raised in these very religious households, and they're not exhibiting these homophobic behaviors. Many of them are actually coming to their own conclusions about the LGBTQ community and saying that it's acceptable.
So 38% of the Christian community, at least from what I've searched up recently, seems to be opposed against homosexuality.
Right. But the majority is not. Correct or incorrect?
The majority is not okay. Sure, I can agree that like 54% of them are not. That's cool. However, again, this just means that even under your own view, right, it seems as if that there are these certain Christians within the world who be roaming around, right? And of course, you can agree that these people who are grown, who have these violent beliefs, tend to do more harm than these people who do not actually are raised with these violent beliefs, right? Or develop these
But the,
violent
the
beliefs. So
only
again,
the
again,
only
again,
I'm telling
again,
you this is
again,
only
again, again, again. So what that means is that if somebody is raised in a household where they're taught to, or they're like influenced in the sense that they think homosexuality is wrong, then they're probably also going to spread their belief onto other people, right? Other Christians, right? And this is how beliefs like this rapidly spread. This is how homophobia rapidly spreads. This is how the Islamic Jihad rapidly spreads, where they misinterpret their own religion because it's so deep-seated. Even if their parents didn't force them to believe it, right? This heavy influence still actually plays a major role in all of their actions. There seems to be no empirical work that actually shows us or gives us any evidence that, yes, upon us like teaching our children these religions, they then tend to actually start questioning it in future. At least you can provide it to me.
Yeah, I think the evidence is enough that a lot of Christian people are become accepting of the LGBTQ community. That's why I think okay, that's time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so there's an optional 2 minutes of prep time. Do you guys want to take it or just move on?
I don't want
I don't need it.
Okay, great. So we're just gonna move on straight to rebuttal speeches. Since Gon went first, he's gonna get the first speech. You have 4 minutes to refute and give your speech. Your time will start on your first word.
Yeah. I think I wrote down like most of what he said. Give me a second. Oh my goodness. So the first
I offered you prep
thing
time.
you wrote it down.
Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you said you wrote it down, but okay, it's fine. So the first thing he said is that he wants to go under, instead of it being an authoritarian style of teaching, instead it's an authoritative style in which he actually doesn't impose or doesn't force them to believe any certain thing. Instead, he just actually just guides them on the right line and says this is what is right and this is wrong. However, again, it just seems to me as if that whenever he tries to say that these beliefs that these Christians have or these religious people have are just typical common sense beliefs, this doesn't seem to be true, because then if it were these common sense beliefs that were added towards them, then it wouldn't be something that's worth much debate in the first place. If these religions were teaching people, yeah, don't steal, don't kill, don't rape only, right? Nobody was going to disagree that yes, you should be allowed to teach them this. However, it's the implications that are what they teach them that actually becomes harmful. For example, you're basically teaching these children and influencing them along these lines of yes, every other religion is wrong, they're all liars, and you are the only person who is right. And again, it also just counts as this form of misinformation. Now he tried to liken it to Santa, right? Where we lie about Santa for certain cultural reasons. However, this doesn't seem to be true, because if you're teaching people and you're raising them to believe that another group of people, in fact, the majority of other people within the world are all liars and you are the only one who is right, this just seems to breed not only severe levels of mistrust, but it also seems to breed even forms of hatred. Hence why there are all of these religious battles that go on within the world. Again, multiple religions within the world, for example, like in certain countries, I don't want to name names, right? But again, they have certain views on women, right, who misinterpret their own religious text and they actually subjugate them. Now, you can say that what brought this up was an authoritative style in which were just taught, oh yeah, this is the way, this is what's right and what is wrong. However, again, there seems to be no real good evidence that religion, specifically religion, not something just so insignificant as Santa, which has no bearing onto real life. However, specifically religion, where you teach people that you are the one who's going to heaven, and most of these other people, because the main big three are the Abrahamic religions, and all of these other people, unless they follow this specific path that your religion set out, they were all going to go and die in hellfire, and they're all sinners, right? These type of heavy claims with these heavy baggage attached.
Hello?
Don't worry, that was for
Did
the
someone
better.
kick him? Did he drop?
He dropped. I mean, it was probably for the better anyway. I mean, he wasn't really.
Okay. So I guess
Yeah, his parents
I don't
heard
even
his
know what to do at
argument
this
and he
point. Like this literally has never happened to me. I'm gonna DM him. Hold on.
This is actually so dumb.
TJ goes, he's probably still talking.
He's in the audience.
He's in the audience?
Yeah.
Okay, let me check. Hold on.
Yo, I've been speaking for a good 5 minutes, and okay, yeah, I'm so sad. But where did you last hear me?
Yeah, so you had 1 minute and 47 seconds left. The
You
last
know
thing
the
I
last
wrote
word.
down The last thing I wrote down was you were talking about how Santa is different than religious beliefs.
Oh yeah, Santa is much different from religious beliefs. So whenever he tries to liken it to that, it just seems to be blatant it blatant just contortion of how like things actually go on in the real world, right? Compared to Santa, religious beliefs actually promote, especially the Abrahamic ones, they seem to promote that all of these other religions are false, all of these other religions are liars, right? And most of these religions, in fact, seem to also promote that these other religious people actually go to hell, right? And they won't actually achieve paradise. So again, it just seems to me that these religions seem to have way bigger implications, especially when people who only are really like you could argue that they are only religious because they were raised in this certain way. People who are under this certain mindset, they go about and they kill people. So clearly these type of beliefs isn't akin to something that lies that we accept due to like some form of cultural reason. And again, I don't even understand why you would like try and grandstand that yes, we should be allowed to misinform our children. However, it wouldn't even count as misinformation under this context because it would count as something you genuinely believe. However, you genuinely believe this thing with no evidence and forcing beliefs, or in fact even like trying to imply that these beliefs are like for example, but these beliefs are right and these other ones are wrong, even though you really have no evidence for your own belief, again, just breeds onto like it has multiple other harmful implications onto the real world. In the Santa example, you know that this thing is wrong or you know that this thing is a lie. However, you say it to them knowing that they'll grow out of it. However, in this religious example, you know that this thing is true. And multiple other people within the world are willing to die for their religion. So clearly, this is the level of conviction that they're actually trying to instill onto their children. So it's likely that they won't actually break away from it. And he's also just using a proprietary usage of impose. Impose just means to force, do something by force, right? And actually, I'll read out the definition that I sent in chat. It is compulsory, right? So whenever he uses the definition of impose, he's just using it in an idiosyncratic method in which it makes it easier for him to actually argue the position. So yeah,
That's
there's
what I
that. I can see the rest of my time. Yeah.
Give me 1 second to write that last thing down. Okay. Um, okay, Julian, you have a 4-minute rebuttal speech. Time will start on your first word.
Okay, so the first thing that he said, which was, quite silly, is that um, people like will be raised to have these beliefs necessarily in the future. Well, I think that's not the case for a lot of Christians. A lot of Christians who are raised in an authoritative parenting style usually question their beliefs. They usually have the freedom to, you know, go out of the religion that they were in. So, for example, many hijabis take off their hijab when they get older. Many Christians, leave Christianity, come up with their own assessments of the LGBTQ. These are things that we're seeing more commonly today. So, when you're raised with an authoritative parenting style, you're not necessarily will be led to these beliefs in the future. Now, for example, Shinra pointed out the distinction that a lot of the religions aren't teaching us these common sense beliefs. They're teaching us very controversial beliefs like, being LGBTQ is wrong, maybe evolution didn't happen. But my main point is that the beliefs that children are mainly exposed to are cheating is wrong, lying is wrong. They aren't exposed to these deep seated beliefs about the LGBTQ as being wrong. When children are exposed to those beliefs, they usually have the liberty under the authoritative parenting style to question those beliefs. So when, children, mainly find out the LGBTQ is wrong, they're maybe 13, 14, and at this time they have the intellectual capacity to question those beliefs. And in the authoritative parenting style, they'll be given the liberty to change their beliefs or whatever, even though these are the beliefs their parents fed them growing up. So I think, and he wanted to say that these beliefs are very different from Santa Claus because, well, they're the same thing as Santa Claus. They're cultural beliefs that are enforced by us because we're raised in a certain culture, or raised in a certain household, and maybe these are the things that bring our culture together. So when you don't grow up in a religion, you might feel isolated from your community. And one of the good parts about being in a religion is there's a sense of community there. Maybe your parents are there, you can be closer to your family, and religion is one way to do this. So their parents may be doing a good thing by forcing their religion because they're bringing up their children with a sense of community. And usually, the very controversial beliefs they're exposed to, they can question them under my parenting style that I'm advocating for. And it's clearly not like Shinra said, where it's teaching people that, rape is okay or white over black, because the beliefs that Christians want to foster to their children generally are not these very harmful beliefs about people. They're like lying isn't wrong, lying is wrong, stealing's wrong, cheating's wrong. These are the beliefs that Christians foster to young children, and the controversial ones, when they get older, they'll question them, and it'll be fine under my parenting style. Um, there's nothing really more I have to say, so I'll end it there.
Okay. Okay. I just want to make a quick announcement. Per C's request, Jim's debate is going to be an hour earlier. I'm going to change the event really quick.
Someone slide me the IP address.
So the topic will now be announced at, well, I mean, I guess when this debate is over, because it's already 12:40. So as soon as this debate is over, I'm going to announce the topic for Jim and C. So just for your reference, both of you. Anyway, so thanks for your speech, Julian. There will now be another cross X. Let me check how much time it was because I forgot. 3 minutes? Okay. So Gon, Shinra, you're going to get 3 minutes to ask Julian your questions, and Julian's going to respond. I'm going to start the time on your first word.
Okay, Julian, do you have any form of actual evidence as to these are the beliefs and not any of the quote-unquote controversial ones that these are the beliefs that Christians most likely impose on their children?
Yeah, I don't think the young children generally have the intellectual capacity to understand that being gay is wrong. Are these very complex? Our evolution is wrong. I don't think young children generally can comprehend those things. It's only until they get older and they can question their beliefs where they can kind of understand these more controversial.
I'm so confused. What would be the distinction there between saying killing is wrong and saying evolution is like a lie? I'm so confused. What would be
Because
the thing that is
you need
harder to
more
understand
intellectual
there?
capacity to understand things about evolution than you do about killing.
Why do you, okay, but I'm so confused. Why would the parents be telling them the things about evolution that is wrong rather than just telling them that this general thing that people try to impose is just false and everything about it is a lie?
Well, look,
Do you think that the parents there are doing like any form of like work on, or do you even think that these children understanding that, yeah, we once went from apes and then slowly, due to things changing, we then developed into humans? Do you think that would be hard for a 12-year-old to understand that? I'm confused. Maybe you're a bad teacher.
no, yeah, I think it would be
Yeah.
hard to understand the evolutionary basis, the
My
basics
goodness.
behind evolution, because you need to understand stuff about genetics, mutations, etc., which children have a hard time understanding. And I said around 12 and 13 is the age where they can kind of understand these things and
Do you
begin to
have any
question their
form of
beliefs. I'm saying
okay, do
that
you have
very young children, like
yeah.
1 to 9, are not going to understand these beliefs, and
Do you
at
have
that
any
point is
actually I'll
I
ask
think
you
at the
later.
point where they do understand these beliefs, they can question their beliefs.
Okay, do you have any like form of evidence in which children at that specific age that you just mentioned seem to begin to question their religious beliefs more?
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, I think it's just intuitive
Send it.
that
No, send
it's
it.
obviously true.
No, send it.
I'm saying it's obviously true. I don't really need empirical
Obviously
evidence.
true. Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think 12-year-olds were like so wait, to be clear, you think that that's the age in which they begin to question their religious beliefs?
I think it might happen for different ages for different people. Yeah, around 12 and 13, I think that's
Okay.
when you start.
Do you believe 12-year-olds were going into theology? They were questioning whether or not God exists.
Yeah, some 12 and 13-year-olds do question whether or not God
I
exists.
didn't say some, I said most.
I don't know, but I think it's around the
Okay,
age
so
people
you
start
don't know. So
questioning.
clearly isn't obviously true. Okay, that's fine. So next question would be, in the case of 12 and 13-year-olds, do you have any form of evidence in which they actually begin to stray away from these beliefs that, for example, if they were raised in a homosexual or a hating homosexual household or a homophobic household, is there any form of empirical work that seems to verify that they'd actually change their beliefs
No,
as they get to that age?
I think
No.
it's quite obvious around the time period when they're starting their teenage years.
Sorry,
This
that's
is when they
fine.
begin to question their beliefs. I think. Yeah. So
Okay, so
Thanks.
it's quite obvious is the argument. Okay, that's fine.
So now is going to be 3 minutes for Julian to ask Shinra his questions, and Shinra is going to be answering. Your time will
okay,
start on your first word.
So the first thing I want to make clear is that you realize we had 1 hour to prep for this debate. I'm not going to have empirical sources to show you on this. Sometimes we just have to go off, what's obviously true and what's obviously not true. It's ridiculous you understand that it's ridiculous for you to ask me for empirical sources when we had 1 hour to prep for this debate.
Yeah, I find my empirical sources in an hour. That's a skill issue.
Okay, so one thing you said, do you have empirical sources on that? People who are raised in very religious households don't tend to question whether or not
Specifically,
being LGBTQ is right or wrong.
Specifically, the main empirical claim that I made was that 38% of Christians tend to actually be against homophobia. I can send you
That
the
that's
source
wait,
study
that's
for
not wait,
that.
that's not that, wait. You made an empirical claim that people who grow up in these very religious
Mhm.
households, generally, they're going to be homophobic to other people. Do you have
Yeah,
any sources
so
for that?
again, sure. I can send you the studies, but you also know about most of
No,
the
wait. Do
instances
you
that
have
you're
the
talking
sources?
about.
Yes or no? Do you have the
Oh
sources? Yes
yeah,
or
I
no?
do have this. I do have the
What's the
studies,
name of
but
the
you
source?
also do. Okay, sure. You want
What's
me
the
to
name of
send
the
you the
source?
name or just send you the link? Because it
You're gonna
just
look it up
sounds like
right
you're
now.
asking me to send you the
You're gonna look
name
it up right now. You
specifically.
don't actually have the source on hand. You're gonna look it up right now and try to post it.
That's funny on it.
You're gonna pull up the first thing you said on a
That's
Google
funny on
search
it.
and send
That's
it
funny
into
on
me.
it. That's funny on it. Okay, then. Nice. I'm
What's
gonna
the
send
name
you
of
the
the
study
source?
then.
If you looked at the source, you
I
probably should know
don't
the
know
name,
the
right?
specific name. You look. You don't understand. I have like a huge
I'm
server where I
sorry.
just
I'm
write
going
down
to
all of the
interrupt
stuff I'm gonna send.
really quick. I'm so sorry. I didn't think I'd have to interrupt. I can't understand what you guys are saying if you keep interrupting each other. Additionally, I don't give a shit if you send Julian your link because if I don't have it, it doesn't exist. He's not the one judging the debate.
Okay.
Um,
I'll
so
send you.
let's just move on. You have a minute and 30 left. Continue.
Okay, sure. So, do you have any other questions?
Okay, so you said, okay, so are you disputing the claim that by the time that they tend to understand these very controversial beliefs, they'll have the ability to question these very controversial beliefs?
Repeat what you said.
So are you disputing that generally around the time that these children learn about very controversial beliefs, they'll have the ability to question these very controversial beliefs?
No, obviously I'm not going to disagree with the fact that they have the mental capabilities to show it's possible, right?
Right, right.
However, what I'm saying, yeah,
Wait,
yeah, yeah,
wait,
you
no,
asked
further,
you
further
asked me a very
question,
clear
further
question.
question, further
I need to give you a
question.
very clear answer.
We
So
have one.
again,
We have 1 minute left. I need to ask the further question. So further question. Um,
be quick with that.
an authoritative parenting style, if they have the mental
Uh-huh.
capacity to understand these beliefs, they have the mental capacity to question these beliefs, correct?
Yeah, that's true, but it's again just extremely unlikely.
Yeah, it's extremely unlikely that a 15-year-old is going to question whether being LGBTQ is wrong. I think you're off your ass on that one.
No, no, no. First of all, you went from saying 12 to 13 to 15, so it just sounds like blatant hedging to actually defend your view better,
I
right?
said it's
But
over the
two,
process
but
of time.
two,
I said
but two,
13 is
but
when they
two, but
start to
two,
question it.
but
13
two,
is when
but
they
two,
start to
but
question
two.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
I,
Sounds like Hedge of Doom. I can find you the timestamp where you said it before, but
I
two,
said
right?
13 is when they start to question it. And I said it's a reasonable
Uh-huh.
time that they may question
Uh-huh.
it too.
Uh-huh,
15 is when
uh-huh.
it's clear.
But two, very specifically, again, there doesn't seem to be, at least from what I've understood, there doesn't seem to be any good evidence to me that, for example, a child raised in a Christian household, right, where they're raised to actually believe Christianity, upon reaching 15, there's no good evidence that they'd actually
That's,
change or actually
that's time.
believe that Christianity is false.
Stop
But yeah,
talking. It's time.
my bad, my bad, my bad.
Okay. So you have an optional 2 minutes of prep time. Do you guys want it?
No.
No.
Right. We're gonna move on to closing statements then.
Do I have to like give a
Shin-
fleshed out one?
okay. Shinra is going to give a 4-minute closing statement. You have 4 minutes. The time will start on your first word.
So to first start off with, Monkey Boy is a very bad debater, and then the second would be, I don't actually think that Julian defended his view properly. I think the entire time in which we were speaking, we actually just went through a whole bunch of empirical claims that he made, and his entire defense for them as well is obviously true. So upon that same standard, every single empirical claim that he tried to ask me to justify, even though I said I did have actual links for it, and then tried to press me on it, he didn't bet 20 on me, right? He didn't bet 20 with me that I actually had it, so clearly he isn't that confident, right? And then the second thing is, again, I can just use his own standard and say it's obviously true. Then if he begins to deny that standard upon the basis that, oh, but you can just say it's very obviously true, right, as justification, then he just be special pleading. He really had no form of evidence. He just tried using a proprietary notion of what it means to like impose. He never actually responded to the fact that he was using a proprietary notion of what it means to impose. Of course, if impose, what he means is just read a bedtime story to them. Of course, nobody's going to disagree with that, right? However, clearly impose is being used in a way in which it is worth debating. I already pointed that out within the debate, and I explained that if it was a view like Santa Claus, in which it was just, it's obviously true, it's obviously false, yet we still teach it to them anyway, knowing that they'll grow out of it, then that wouldn't be consistent with things that we seem to observe. Again, the example I was going to give if I was really cut off was child soldiers, and also just multiple examples. Like he gave an hijabi example. Again, no empirical work. The empirical work wasn't in the room with us now. He tried to get aggressive, didn't work. In my own questioning phase, he just completely crumbled because he had no empirical work with him. And yeah, I'll just consume my time there. He's not better than me.
Okay. Julian, you have 4 minutes to give your closing statement. It starts on your first word.
Okay, so the first thing I want to address is he said that I didn't have sources. Sometimes in these debates, it's 1 hour for prep time. I don't have the sources on me, and sometimes I'm just gonna have to appeal to what's obvious. Now you can't just say anything's obvious. If I said that that it's going to rain next Thursday, it's not obvious that that's going to happen. So people can question whether it's not obvious or not, and perhaps they agree with me, perhaps they don't. I think it was very obvious that a 15-year-old is going to be able to question whether or not being gay is immoral. Maybe if you don't think so, you're cognitively inept. I don't know. And so he said my usage of impose was proprietary, and I don't think it's proprietary because it corresponds to a very important distinction in the literature on child psychology between an authoritative parenting style and authoritarian parenting style. My notion of impose is corresponding to an authoritative parenting style where you're kind of feeding your beliefs to your children, but they have the freedom, to question these beliefs and choose differently. Not an authoritarian parenting style where impose would be used more strongly to control literally what your child thinks. So I don't think it's proprietary. It corresponds to these well-defined notions of the different parenting styles that I laid out in this debate. And Shinra's mentioned that like these sorts of forcing these beliefs would be similar to forcing that white people over black people. But obviously, the religious beliefs that are forced onto young children are the very common sense moral beliefs. And when you grow up and you begin to question these moral beliefs, your parents will allow you the liberty to do so. So in what way is that severely harming the child? And for his claim that you should breed more hatred, I don't think this is true. Like, I don't think that, imposing your religious beliefs is breeding more hatred in general. Of course, it depends what those religious beliefs are. But in general, I don't believe Christians are these, very hateful people. And many people, who grew up Christian, tend to, actually favor the LGBT community. And for influencing, he said something about my view system was, forcing the child's future actions. I do believe this is correct. The moral beliefs you feed your children are going to affect their future actions. But I believe that Christians aren't raising their children with, severely harmful beliefs. They're raising their children with beliefs like stealing is bad, lying is bad, cheating is bad, and the beliefs that most people think are harmful. Many of the children when they grow up question these beliefs, and that's a point that I elaborated on many times, and it's kind of very obvious. And lastly, I wanted to draw on an important thing that religion is tied to our culture. So even if our religion isn't, forcing super harmful beliefs onto people, and it's a culture we all share, and religion can do the job in, bringing a sense of community to people, which can be a very beautiful and positive thing. And that's what I want to close off with, that religion brings community, and it's not wrong for a parent to try and bring their child into their larger community. And I'll close it off.
Monkey Boy lost his debate, is what we should all take away from this.
Okay. So I'm going to give my ruling and my explanation. But before I do, I just want to say that from both sides, I don't want to hear complaining. I don't want to hear shit. I'm so exhausted from it. Just take it. Like, if you lose, like, take it like a man and just take it, okay? Like, don't be a dingo. Don't be dumb. Anyway, so, and also before I give my ruling, I want to say I find it interesting that the debate kind of devolved into Christianity, especially considering Christianity is not the only religion that exists. So I just want to point that out. I find that interesting.
I'm not a man yet.
I don't want to hear any complaining. Okay? Anyway, so I'm going to go down my notes. I'm going to start with Gon's case because he went first. Gon started by saying that imposing beliefs was a violation of human rights. It's the same thing as grooming, it's indoctrination, it's lying. And he explained that it was grooming, like similar to grooming, because these beliefs are not born into people. Gon, can you mute yourself? You're echoing.
My bad.
You're good. Riley, oh my God. Julian responded by saying that we impose other moral beliefs. And then Shinra responded, for example, Santa. And then Shinra responded by saying that Santa is not as controversial as religion. It's not like fundamentally the same thing because we know Santa's a lie, but some people interpret that religion is true. And then Julian responded by saying both things are cultural and therefore they're analogous. And yeah, they're both cultural. And then that was kind of the end of the discussion on that. His second argument was that imposing beliefs affects future decisions. And then Julian kind of said a couple responses. He said, sorry, I'm looking at my notes. He said, people will still be able to explore. And then he kind of turned it and he said it's a good thing if it affects future decisions because it's teaching them not to do things like kill or steal. So he kind of turned that argument for himself. Shinra also mentioned that it fosters hate from potential misinterpretation. Julian responded by saying religion does not foster hate, only like a moral set. And then Shinra responded by saying that everyone else is lying is hate, and that like all the other religions are false is hate. Julian then responded by saying there's a couple things. He first said that it still leaves room for them to question. It's not authoritarian. And then Shinra said that some people were too young to be able to question. And then we got kind of this whole debacle about like evidence. Like Julian responded by saying people have like intuition. I mean, both of it was just kind of, oh my God, be patient. Both of it was kind of a wash. Neither of you gave evidence for either, so I don't think evidence was important for it. It wasn't important at the end of the day. And then another thing was that Julian responded by saying, like, lots of Christians like gays. I thought that was funny. And then the last thing that Shinra made was that imposing beliefs reduces critical thinking. And then Julian said that it still leaves room for people to explore. And then it just kind of went back into like people are too young to understand. And it went back into that whole thing. On Julian's side of the flow, he's defined imposing to mean teaching kids that like my religion is correct. And then Shinra responded by saying, what if they teach that grooming is right? And then Julian said that would still fall under his definition. It would still be imposing, but he clarified that religion doesn't teach that. And then kind of towards the end, Shinra gave a new definition for imposing, meaning force. And then Julian just kind of clarified the difference between authoritative and authoritarian. I don't know if I would give much merit to that definition because if you're going to say that imposing means to force something, you also need to tell me what forcing means because you could also have different definitions for forcing someone to do something. And then, so mostly in his case, he talked about the difference between authoritarian and authoritative. He said authoritative leaves room for questioning, authoritarian doesn't, and he's advocating for authoritative. And then Shinra kind of responded by saying religious beliefs aren't common sense and that they're like fostered into people. I don't know, that's not really a response to like authoritative versus authoritarian. That's a fine argument to make, but it doesn't really engage with that. Both of you did good, but the debate was kind of like all over itself. It was really hard to take notes because there was a lot of interrupting going on and a lot of like back and forth on like really unimportant things. So I'm going to give my ruling now. I just want to say that if you complain, I'm going to ignore you. I don't really care. I also don't care what the audience says because people like to troll. So at the end of the day, I voted for Julian to win because I think his analysis was better, and I think he engaged more. And I think, like, at the end of the day, the most important arguments were about, like, does religion foster hate? And I think he did a good job of refuting that by saying, like, that's not really what religion is. But I will say on both sides, I wished it didn't just devolve into Christianity because the topic is religion, not Christianity. So I'm kind of disappointed on that. But yeah, at the end of the day, I voted for Julian. Good job for both of you, though. I don't care if you disagree. Congrats. Now,
No,
for
no, great. I don't
the next round, I'm supposed to announce the topic. So I'm gonna go into a different VC. I don't know if Jim and C are still here. I'm gonna go into chill VC. Please, if you want to discuss, go into a different VC. So Jim and C, if you could join me